Hello, welcome back. I'm John, old YouTuber. I have not given up reading about all my tanks. I still have my read lists, but it starts to look my old stamp collection. I did buy a lot of stamps like 15 years ago. So I was busy to look my stamps. I have a small stamp collection. Many thousand of stamps, and then I did start to play with my old train simulator classic on Dennis. I will do later today. And this old camcorder takes like 24 hours to charging. I can only record like 2 hours every day. Because the battery, the lithium battery inside is damaged, because I have charged it like 1,000 times. You cannot do that with lithium batteries. The lithium batteries are getting old, like in electric scooters and electric cars. You cannot charge it 10,000 times. So I only have 2 hours every day. And then I start like to look my stamp collection. I'm not finished. I have to sort all the stamps out in countries. That takes many of hours. So let's try to continue. Then I will play with my. I have a large freight train in this train simulator classic. But I have a long list before this tanks. About cars and car brands like Citroën and Peugeot, and some cars like Citroën C3s and cars I maybe like to buy. So I'm not finished do that. I have to go back to this, and before that this is why the video says looking at PC game hardware. I'm talking about computer chips. Reading about computer chips and hardware. Something's wrong with my tripods. But let's try to continue. They read about the Russian T-72 tanks, and that's many tens of thousands. This is a local version of this Russian T-72 in the Iraq, I think. And I'd like to read this river, Ganges River in India. I could travel to India, and you have this sub paddleboard, so that's like surfboard. That's surfboard with air inside. Inflatable surfboard called sub paddleboards. You could paddle down the Ganges River. You could do that and record on the video. But I'm not living in India. I'm living far away from there. I need a minute to do myself ready. So let's continue, and I have some video on Danish, my language Danish. I'm making about camp tanks. I have not given up, but I was looking my stamps. But let's just try to continue a little bit. Activate voice, read loud.
Lion of Babylon, tank. Lion of Babylon vehicles at 1st Cavalry Division Museum 24.jpg. Iraqi T-72 on display at the 1st Cavalry Division Museum, 2018 type main battle tank place of origin Iraq service history was Gulf War Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. 2003 invasion of Iraq. Production history designer Katsev Venediktov produced 1989-1990 no build 500-750 specifications mass 41.5 tons. 45.7 shortens, length 9.53 m, 31 feet 3 in, gun forward 6.95 m, 22 feet 10 in, hull width 3.59 m, 11 feet 9 in, height 2.23 m, 7 feet 4 in, crew 3 armor mild steel, 45-300 mm main 125 mm to a 46 m. Lion of Babylon, Arabic, Romanized, Assad. Bill, is the name of a project undertaken by the Iraqi military in the late 1980s, under which Ba'athist Iraq attempted to locally produce the T-72, a Soviet MAD main battle tank. The tanks were to be assembled at a factory near Taji in the Baghdad Governorate. 3. The Lion of Babylon project of Saddam Hussein's regime was triggered in part by the American embargo against the sale of military vehicles to Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War. However, it is disputed how many tanks outlined in the project were finished, and likewise whether the Iraqi tanks reported to be Lions of Babylon during the Gulf War and Iraq War were merely imported T-72s. The project draws its name from the Lion of Babylon, an ancient Babylonian symbol that was based on the Asiatic lion and represented the king of Babylon as well as the goddess Ishtar. The name is sometimes correctly used to refer to T-72s in Iraqi service, which were imported from the Soviet Union and Poland. Production history. In 1986, a West German company built a factory in Taji to manufacture steel for several military uses. It was enlisted to retrofit and rebuild tanks already on duty in the Iraqi army, such as T-54/55s, T-62s, and several hundred of Soviet and Polish T-72s, 4, imported during early stages of the war with Iran. 5. In the late 1980s, plans were made to produce new T-72M1 tanks in Taji. These tanks were to be assembled from knockdown kits delivered by the Polish state-owned company Bumal Abdi. 6. The assembly was to start in 1989 and the tanks would receive the name Assad Babil, Lion of Babylon. According to Polish officials, not a single 72M1 was finished, even though in 1988 a T-72 was displayed on an Iraqi arms show, which was claimed to be locally produced. 6. The local assembly of the T-72 started in Taji in early 1989 as suggested by Iraqi officials. 4. A number of Iraqi officials such as Lieutenant General Amer Rashid, however, did not like the idea of being dependent on knockdown kits supplied by another country and pushed for the complete armament. Secondary armament 7.62mm PKT coax machine gun, 12.7mm NSV Tanchi aircraft machine gun, a 12.7mm DSHKA machine gun, engine V12 diesel 780 HP, 582 kW, power /weight 18.8 HP /suspension torsion bar. Some dampers removed. Tojuic desert conditions. 1. Operational range 425 km 600 km with fuel barrels. Maximum speed 60 km /h, road, 45 km /h, off-road. Production of the T-72M1 tank instead. 4. 6. In 1991 the Taji plant was destroyed by an airstrike while being upgraded by Bumal Abdi. 6. The United Nations imposed an arms embargo following the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait in August 1990, which reduced the complete assembly of tanks, tows, impulse spare parts for Lions and other tanks in the Iraqi arsenal. 4. It is not known how many Lion tanks were completed during the span between early 1989 and this embargo. Specifications. In most aspects, the Lion of Babylon is physically identical to the T-72M1. It is based on 7. Lion of Babylon T-72s were upgraded with the addition of laminated armor on the front slope and rear panels as protection against heat projectiles. 3. American military intelligence believed some were equipped with Belgian-made thermal sights. 8. These same sources claim the tank was also provided with a better track protection against sand and mud than the Soviet T-72, by reducing the original number of shock absorbers. 9. 1. Some tanks also were fitted with a type of electro-optical interference pod of Chinese origin. 10. 11. As secondary armament, the tank mounted either the NSV or the DSHK 12.7mm machine gun and the coaxial 7.62mm PKT common to all T-72 models. Armor. Image showing the plate of laminated armor welded on the glacis of a T-72. Note the edges around their rectangular section of the toe hinges and driver's hatch. The Lion's primary armor was the same as the T-72 M1, without any improvements. The Lion's side armor had 60mm protection, the turret side armor was 300mm, and the flat rear was 45 thick. 12. Despite the relative thinness, a retrofitted reinforced armor plate present both at the turret and the front upper hull seems to have been relatively effective against some shaped charge ordnance, like Hevtos and Hellfire missiles. There are reports of Iraqi T-72 surviving near misses from these weapons, although the reinforced armor generally did not prevent a mobility kill. However, it is also possible that the unexpected survival rate was due to the electro-optical countermeasures mounted on most of the tanks rather than the added armor. 13, 14, 15, 16. Some Lion tanks may have featured explosive reactive armor, possibly obtained from Polish T-72 M1 spare parts. 17. Another improvised armor upgrade may have also been added at the Taji complex. 5. An additional 30 mm plate was welded on the front areas of the hull and turret, leaving an air gap matching the size of thermal, so that the power of a heat jet could be dissipated in the hollow space. This technique follows the principle of spaced armor. The Iraqi engineers tested this reinforcement against captured Iranian 120mm Chieftain tank guns in 1989, apparently with some success. 18. Combat history. Performance. The Lion of Babylon saw service in the 1991 Persian Gulf War as well as the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Like the tanks in the Iraqi inventory, Lions were mainly employed as armored self-propelled artillery, rather than in maneuver warfare roles. In operations, it fared poorly against American main battle tanks and armored fighting vehicles. For example, a 120mm depleted uranium APFS round from an M1 Abrams could knock out a Lion of Babylon tank well beyond 3000 m19, while the effective range of the tungsten core 125mm shell used by Iraq was 1800 m20. Within closer ranges, the Lion of Babylon was more effective, especially while within prepared positions. 21. However, even in such conditions, the T-72 did not fare well against M1s as proven in the Battle of Norfolk during Desert Storm. 22. Although the tank also participated in the Battle of Phase Line Bullet, where Bradley IFVs from the 4th Squadron of the 7th Cavalry Regiment were driven back by dug-in Iraqi armored vehicles at heavy cost. 23. Persian Gulf War. The bulk of Iraqi armored units were equipped with the Type 69 and only Republican Guard divisions were equipped with Iraqi modified T-72s, with exception of the regular Army's Armored Saladin Division. 24. Thus, engagements between Lions of Babylon and American tanks were limited to conflicts involving such Iraqi units. During Desert Storm, T-72s built in Taji were technologically 20 years out of date. Only one M1 Abrams was officially documented during the Persian Gulf War as having received enough damage to be towed on to receive maintenance after being struck 3 times on the turret by a Lion .25. Another 6 M1A1s were allegedly hit by Iraqi T-72 tank fire in the Gulf War official report, but the impacts were large Lion effectual .26. According to Atkinson and Scales, Lions accounted for at least 2 M2 Bradley kills during Desert Storm and left several damaged, all on the 26th of February, 1991. 23-27 2003 Iraq War. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the Republican Guards Lions, most from the Medina Division, were deployed around Baghdad to attempt a last-ditch defense of the Ba'ath regime. 28. In April 2003, U.S. tanks engaged their counterparts from just 50 yards, killing 7 Iraqi T-72s without any losses. 29. Such encounters exposed the poor marksmanship of Iraqi gunners, in part due to the shortage of modern night vision and rangefinder assets. 30. The Lions were even more technologically lacking at this time, and it is not known if any improvements to the tanks were made between the Persian a Lion tank abandoned after the U.S. attack into Baghdad. Gulf War and this conflict. Nonetheless, one Bradley was largely disabled by a 125mm round from an Assad-Babil tank when Iraqi troops attempted to attack their American counterparts near Baghdad Airport. 31. Fate. The last operational T-72s were destroyed by the successive waves of American armored incursions on the Iraqi capital. 32, or abandoned by their crews after the fall of Baghdad, several of them without firing a single shot. The derelict tanks were later scrapped by U.S. Army disposal teams or shipped to the United States for to get practice. 2 years after the fall of Saddam Hussein, the new Iraqi government acquired dozens of refitted T-72 M1s from Hungary, in order to equip an armored brigade. The headquarters of this new Iraqi army unit is located in Taji, so there may still remain some maintenance facilities from the production of Lions. Some surviving T-72s are used for training, and the experience of Iraqi army officers and crews with the T-72 was one of the reasons behind the choice of Hungarian T-72 M1s. 33 notes.
Good. Did finish this. So now I will make a video of Dennis. I have my read list there, but I have to close my computer because I cannot keep my computer on. I have to, for weeks and weeks and weeks. So next is the T-64 and the Russian. That's Russian T-62 and this one. But I would like to read about the Ganges River Zoo. Now I will stop the video and make a video on Dennis.